Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the movie studios, well, they're back at it again, trying once again to adapt one of our favorite video games into a live-action movie. This time with the hit Souls-like game, Elden Ring of all things. No, yeah, you heard me right. Your ears did not mislead you. Bandai Namco are going to make a Elden Ring live-action movie. Personally, I can't wait to see Jack Black in his hit role as Godric the Crafted. All jokes aside, I've talked about this topic in like countless videos now, most recently in my Last of Us series. But streaming companies and movie studios for years now have been absolutely obsessed with adapting some of our favorite video games and animated series into live-action works of media for at least like 30 years now. With some, well, we'll say, mixed results. I mean, who can forget such live-action classics like the Doom movie, M. Night Shyamalan's Avatar: The Last Airbender, the absolute cluster that was Dragon Ball Evolution, and one of my personal favorite dumpster fires, Netflix's live-action Death Note.
No. Wait.
So while there are definitely way more butcherings and dumpster fire live-action adaptions of video games and anime out there, I will give credit where credit is due. Over the last few years, some major studios have actually proven that they know how to make a competent and loyal live-action adaptation. I mean, look no farther than HBO's The Last of Us, whether it be Season 1 or Season 2, Amazon Prime's Fallout series, or Netflix's One Piece or Avatar: The Last Airbender live-action series to see some absolutely fantastic examples of how to do a good live-action adaptation, whether that be a video game or an animated work. I mean, to me personally, The Last of Us might actually be the best video game live-action adaptation ever made so far. And even though I know some people did have some issues with Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender series, to me, I thought it was great, especially as an Avatar fan. I mean, it was a million times better than whatever M. Night Shyamalan cooked up in his movie. So yes, we have seen over the last few years that these studios are really starting to understand what fans want when we see our favorite video games going to be made into a live-action adaptation on screen. What we want is for that adaptation to be respectful and loyal to the original source material, not to feel like a video game movie or show. We want a show or a movie that just happens to be based on a video game. Before the last few years and this kind of like renaissance of live-action adaptations that we are in right now from streaming companies, I very much personally dreaded every single time I saw that one of my favorite animated shows or like video games was going to be made into a live-action adaptation, whether that be a movie or a show. It very much was like a, oh god, holy moment, how are they going to ruin this franchise and butcher it this time? I mean, a 10-year-old me thought that like a live-action Dragon Ball movie adaptation would be like the most epic banger thing of all time, and then they gave us this dumpster fire. Now, don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong. Movie studios have shown us that they still very much can absolutely butcher some of our favorite video games and franchises out there. I mean, look no farther than the Minecraft movie. But part of me still, though, is quietly hopeful that an Elden Ring movie might just actually turn out to be kind of good. So for those of you who are somehow unaware, Elden Ring is a semi-open world Souls-like video game RPG that released in 2022, where players battle intense, epic, larger-than-life bosses in this mythological fantasy world that was created by George R.R. Martin of all people. Yeah, my boy George decided he'd take another break from finishing the Game of Thrones series so he could go and help Miyazaki create a dark, fucked up fantasy world. And oh yeah, the story and the lore of Elden Ring is extremely George R. Martin coded, meaning that it is extremely intricate, it is extremely fleshed out, and it takes a whole team of YouTube video ethicists to try to decipher it. But because the world and the lore of Elden Ring is actually so fleshed out, it does create the potential for a very interesting potential story to take place in a live-action movie. So according to this press release by Bandai Namco, they have announced that this movie is in the works in collaboration with writer and director Alex Garland, the director behind the 2024 hit movie Civil War, as well as the controversial and banger sci-fi flick Ex Machina. On top of that, Garland also being the writer for personally one of my favorite horror films of all time, the post-apocalyptic zombie movie 28 Days Later. So then on the surface, putting Garland in charge as the director and potential writer of this film does seem like it could be a pretty good choice. Garland has already shown his love and kind of mastery of like the weird and dark, both of which I think are pretty accurate descriptions of like Elden Ring's world. The press release also states that George R. R. Martin will be working as a producer on this movie, which is definitely, I would say, a good thing, seeing as he is the man who wrote the motherfucking story and helped create the insane, super deep and weird world of Elden Ring. A world that very much will need deciphering for a more broader audience. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually really love the world and the story of Elden Ring. I am a big fan of George R. R. Martin and his works, but I think that even the hardcore fans, the hardcore lovers of both George R. R. Martin and of Elden Ring, we'll have to admit that the lore of Elden Ring is pretty convoluted and definitely needs some help deciphering it. And unfortunately, though, that's really it as far as the press release and all the information we have so far about the Elden Ring movie. We don't know when it's going to start production, when it is projected to be released, or even if it will be an original story or like an interpretation of the story that was told in the video game itself. Meaning, if I had to guess, just blindly speculating here, it will probably be at least 3 to 5 years before this movie is ever released. At least several years before they even begin production on the damn thing. And there is always that chance that this project does fall apart before it even starts and nothing ever comes of it. I mean, fans of like certain fantasy series only need to think back a few years ago when it was announced that The Name of the Wind, one of my personal favorite fantasy books written by Patrick Rothfuss, was set to receive an on-screen adaptation. However, a few years went by and nothing more was like released or said about this project until ultimately it was announced that the project had fallen apart. So then, what could we possibly expect from an Elden Ring live-action movie? In my opinion, the best live-action adaptions, whether it be like a video game or an anime adaptation, are adapted from media that are kind of closely grounded more to our real world as opposed to being something crazy over the top in like a sci-fi or fantasy world. Think of something like Fallout: The Last of Us or even Avatar: The Last Airbender. All three of these worlds do have like supernatural or unrealistic elements to them, things that don't exist in our real world, but at the same time, they are also extremely grounded in our real world. Like, obviously, this is the case with The Last of Us, a post-apocalyptic zombie game, and even Fallout, for all of its insanity, is just a post-apocalyptic, like, nuclear setting. And even something like Avatar: The Last Airbender is very much based on, like, different cultures and societies throughout our real world and in history, with a little bit of, like, fantasy creatures and some supernatural abilities sprinkled in on top of it. Because Elden Ring is very much a dark medieval fantasy world at its core, think something like Game of Thrones meets an eldritch horror fever dream, I do think that it is very possible this game and its potential movie do have very much the potential to work in a live-action format. But part of me can't help but think that, like, this game and this story would be a little more suited to being a animated adaptation. Like, imagine if it was turned into something that's more akin to the likes of like an anime similar to Berserk. Honestly, I think Berserk is actually a pretty good comparison to something like Elden Ring. I mean, you know, a high-budget Elden Ring animated series would fucking bang. Personally, I hope they come up with an original, unique story that takes place within the world of Elden Ring and very much utilizes all the lore that we learned from the game, instead of trying to, like, straight up adapt the story from the game one for one. There's also the question of, like, who the hell are they going to cast in this movie? Like, I presume that they're gonna have a number of references to the notable boss characters in general in Elden Ring. For example, like Mikola, Godfried, Melania, or like even Ronnie. Honestly, though, I think it actually would just be kind of sick to see Godfried's voice actor, Edward Rowe, just play him in the movie. Regardless, though, the Elden Ring movie is yet another example of movie studios and streaming companies going all in on, like, video game and anime series adaptions. Something that they very much have been obsessed with for fucking years now, and it really does make a lot of sense why when you look at it from their perspective. Video game fans and anime fans are like some of the most loyal and hardcore fan bases out there. By adapting super popular video games and anime, these studios get access to a massive loyal fan base. As well, they don't have to really worry about putting in a ton of work in developing like a whole new story or franchise world. They can just grab something that is very much already popular and established and then try to milk it for everything that it's got. I mean, in this streaming age that we live in, there is an ever-present need for like more and more content, a constant stream of content. So these types of established franchise, whether they be video games or anime, have become like more and more important to these studios. Hence why we see Disney running Star Wars and Marvel straight up into the ground. These two franchises are a deep well of content that they can constantly go back to whenever they need a new movie or a new show. Unfortunately for Disney, the content that they make with this franchise is usually piss-poor, subpar garbage. However, though, I will say I have been very pleasantly surprised with the high-profile live-action and animated adaptations of many video games over the last few years. Whether it's The Last of Us, Fallout, or Netflix's Devil May Cry and Castlevania series, these are all really good examples of, in my opinion, how to adapt a popular video game franchise onto the big screen and do it in a way that isn't just making a mockery or butchering the original source material. So I can only hope that the Elden Ring movie will be much more like these pieces of media, much more like Fallout and The Last of Us, than something like the Minecraft movie or, God forbid, the Dragon Ball Evolution live-action movie. As always, though, guys, with these videos, these are just my thoughts and opinions, so let me know yours in the comment section down below. Let me know, do you have high hopes for the Elden Ring live-action adaptation? If you did enjoy this video or learn something new, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as that is the easiest way to support me, and it really does go a long way in putting this video into the algorithm. If you did enjoy this video, then why don't you check out some of my other content on screen now. And as always, guys, I hope to see you in the next video. Until next time, guys, stay safe out there. Peace, love, adieu.